Cooked rice versus raw rice in soil. See which one wakes up microbes in 48 hours. Welcome back to Roots Haven Grounds, my fellow soil builders. If you've ever stood in your garden holding a handful of earth and wondered whether it's truly alive, this experiment is going to change how you look at soil forever. Today we're digging into a surprisingly simple but powerful question. What happens when you add cooked rice versus raw rice to soil, and which one actually wakes up soil microbes within 48 hours? This isn't theory pulled from a textbook. This is practical, garden-level biology you can try yourself with materials already in your kitchen, and once you see the difference, you'll understand soil life on a whole new level. Why soil microbes matter more than fertilizer. Before we compare rice, let's get one thing straight. Plants don't actually eat fertilizer. They rely on microbes to break down organic matter and minerals into forms roots can absorb. Without active microbes, even the richest soil becomes lifeless dirt. Healthy soil is a living system. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and actinomycetes work together to unlock nutrients, protect roots from disease, and build soil structure. When microbes are active, plants grow stronger with less effort from us. When microbes are dormant or starved, gardens struggle no matter how much fertilizer we add. That's why feeding microbes is one of the smartest things any gardener can do. Rice is a microbial trigger. Why it works. Rice is almost pure carbohydrate, and carbohydrates are microbial rocket fuel. In natural farming systems, rice has long been used as a microbial attractant, especially in Asian soil building techniques like indigenous microorganism, or IMO, collection. But not all rice behaves the same once it hits the soil. Raw rice and cooked rice interact with microbes very differently, and the difference becomes visible shockingly fast. So, to really understand what's happening here, let's imagine a simple side-by-side test. We've got two identical patches of soil. One patch gets a small amount of cooked rice, cooled and plain, while the other gets the same amount of raw, uncooked rice. Both are lightly buried just below the surface and, kept just a bit moist. Within 48 hours, the soil actually begins to tell a story. So, what happens when you add raw rice to soil? Well, raw rice is dense, hard and locked tight. Its starches are just not readily available. Microbes can't access the food immediately, so the response is, pretty slow. In the first couple of days, raw rice mostly just sits there unchanged. Only a small population of microbes actually begins working on the surface of the grains. This whole process takes time, because enzymes have to slowly break down the hard starch structure before microbes can really start to feed. Raw rice does eventually support microbial growth, but it's a long-term, slow-release process. It's kind of like burying a log instead of adding mulch. The benefit comes later, not right away. So, for gardeners who are hoping for an immediate boost in microbial activity, raw rice just doesn't deliver fast enough. Now, what happens when you add cooked rice to soil? Well, cooked rice is a completely different story. Cooking actually gelatinizes the starch, breaking it open and making it instantly available. The moment cooked rice enters moist soil, microbes recognize it as an easy, energy-rich food source. Within 24 hours, microbial populations explode, bacteria multiply rapidly, fungi begin colonizing the area, and the soil around the rice becomes, biologically active. By 48 hours, you'll often notice a faint earthy smell, and sometimes even white fungal threads beginning to appear. That's life waking up. Cooked rice doesn't just feed microbes, it signals them. It tells dormant organisms that conditions are right to multiply and get to work. The smell test. Soil that's alive talks back. One of the easiest ways to tell which rice works better is your nose. Soil fed with cooked rice develops a rich, forest floor smell very quickly. This aroma comes from actinomycetes and beneficial bacteria, and, they're actually the same organisms responsible for that fresh smell you notice after rain. Soil with raw rice, on the other hand, often smells unchanged in the same time frame. No surge, no signal, no excitement. You know, your senses are actually really powerful diagnostic tools in the garden. Sometimes, just paying attention to what you see, smell, or feel can tell you so much about what's happening in your soil. Alive soil. Well, it really does smell alive. That earthy, fresh scent is a sign of good, healthy soil teeming with life. Microbial speed versus stability. It's all about understanding the trade-off. Cooked rice, for example, delivers a super-fast microbial bloom, but honestly, it burns through pretty quickly. The microbes consume it rapidly, multiply, then stabilize once the food source is gone. This makes cooked rice ideal for jump-starting tired soil, activating compost, or preparing garden beds before planting. Raw rice, while slower, provides longer-term feeding as it gradually breaks down. So, it's actually more like buried organic matter than a microbial spark, you know? The real magic, honestly, happens when you understand when to use each one. When cooked rice really shines in the garden is when your soil feels lifeless, compacted, or just kind of inactive. If you're preparing a bed for transplanting, reviving soil after heavy rains, or boosting microbial life before adding mulch, cooked rice is incredibly effective. It's also excellent for activating compost piles or inoculating garden soil with beneficial microbes collected from healthy areas. Even small amounts go a long way because microbes multiply exponentially when conditions are right. The key is moderation. You're feeding microbes, not dumping leftovers. So, when does raw rice make sense? Well, raw rice works better when buried deeper and left undisturbed. Honestly, it's more suited for long-term soil building rather than quick results. If you're building hugelculture beds, deep garden trenches, or perennial systems where soil won't be disturbed for months, raw rice can play a role, but it's not the instant microbial wake-up call many gardeners expect. Common mistakes gardeners make with rice in soil. One mistake is using too much. Excess cooked rice left on the surface can attract pests or, go anaerobic if soil drainage is poor. Another mistake is, expecting raw rice to perform miracles overnight. Rice is a tool, not a fertilizer replacement. It works best when paired with good soil moisture, organic matter, and oxygen. So, always bury rice lightly and keep the soil moist, but not waterlogged. Microbes need air just as much as they need food. This simple comparison, really reveals something profound. Soil biology responds not just to what we add, but to how available it is. Microbes thrive on accessibility. When we feed them properly, they respond immediately, and plants benefit soon after. Cooked rice proves that soil can wake up fast when given the right signal. So, raw rice reminds us that some inputs are, slow investments. Great gardening isn't about choosing one over the other, it's really about timing, observation, and intention. Here's the takeaway for Roots Haven gardeners. If your goal is to wake up soil microbes in 48 hours, cooked rice wins every time. So, it's honestly faster, more visible, and, incredibly effective when you use it wisely. Raw rice has its place, but it's not the microbial alarm clock cooked rice is. Once you understand this, you stop guessing and start working with soil life instead of against it. And that's where real garden abundance begins. If this kind of practical hands-in-the-soil knowledge speaks to you, make sure you subscribe to Roots Haven Grounds on YouTube, share this article with a fellow gardener who's still fighting tired soil, and let's keep building living earth together, one experiment at a time.